So in response to the last couple weeks or so, I feel like I've been way over trading. I have a couple weeks of metrics now, and it's crap. It's way over trading, even though it's been in the sim and really low. Only taking 10 to 50 shares per trade. I I've noticed that my accuracy is below 50%, which is not ideal, and my profit to loss ratio is below 1%. So that's not a formula for success. So what do I have to? What did I do here? Is that I went back to the the different setups for based on this group that I'm with, and I felt like the bread and butter is the pullback, and I chose the 5 minute pullback to really zone in on as a like a starting setup to it slows the trade down. I have 5 minutes to discern the trade and figure out if I'm going to get in or not. Calculate my targets and my stop loss, and really pick apart the trade before I hit the go button. So before I was trading on the 10 seconds, so I'd pull a chart up and be like, oh, it's time to get in and lose 20 cents. So that's how I felt with the 10-second setups. It's like, yeah, some people are can just kill it on there, and there's a lot more entry points so that you can extract more wealth out of the market. However, it's just, at least at this point, it's way too fast for me. So I kind of wrote down some notes here for the full 5 minute pullback. That way I can rewatch this video. It really is just for me, so I can watch it at work. I can, when I'm just chilling, I can pull this video up, kind of go over this process again, and that way I can review it later on. I can tweak it. I can add more notes to it, and then once I get comfortable with this setup, maybe I will drop down to other setups or other lower time frames for more entries. But for now, I've been trading this for about 3 days now, and it's been working very well. So far, I have 100% accuracy, and my obviously there's no profit loss ratio yet. So, but who knows? Maybe next week, next Monday, I'll lose for the first 10 trades, and then I'll be like, well, I guess I got to figure something out. But I back tested this on several different stocks, and I'm going to continue to back test this to see how can this be refined and increase the accuracy and all that. So I will take you through some successful trades, and then I found some areas where it didn't work. So obviously there's no trade out there that works 100% of the time. So first, price firmly breaks the high of day, and it either has a news catalyst or on top of the news of the gainer scanner. So I have a gainer scanner, so it gives me the top gainers for the day. So as it hits a high of day, it alerts me. So we're going into the high of day, along with the high of day break and it being on a top gainer. That combination is worth watching. And then this is just a side note. So if there's news, I haven't quite perfected this setup just yet, but it's probably the most traded setup in the group that I'm with. It's basically news comes out and you buy it. I mean, it doesn't get too much simpler than that, but there is some vetting and some execution that I definitely have to refine, because they'll look at the news and immediately know if it's going to be good or bad. So so that can have a high rate of success, but that's not for me right now. But it can have a news catalyst and not be on the gainer for the 5 minute setup. So the first thing you do is check the daily chart. So I did already on this. So you identify where the 200 MA is at, and then maybe some possible resistance. So I put at 506 up here. There was some resistance from a previous low on a pattern, and then at 254, that was where the 200 was at, which is probably why this thing is moving pretty good right here. and then came back and maybe try to retest the 200 again, and now it's pushing higher and maybe try to break that resistance right there. So next thing I do is zoom out on the 5 minutes. So let's zoom all the way out on this. So it goes back like 5 days, and I'll just mark the highs. So the high right there, so you could see, yesterday after market, it touched the 200, dropped back down, and then it finally pushed through the 200 MA on the daily chart. So this is the 200 on this chart here, and that will act as support and resistance. All right, so next we'll examine the move. So let's examine this first move here. So this showed up on the high day momentum scanners this morning. This is 6. So I'm not up yet. I usually don't start trading until 7, and I may change that in the future because there's a lot of setups that happen before at 4, and I feel like that's advantageous because the first stock that hits a scanner, everybody's gonna be looking at it. At least everybody that's trading that early. So it draws attention, it draws volume, and normally volume equals momentum, and that equals opportunity. So we'll examine the move. So this move, it's 3 candles. It went from $2 to almost $3, almost a point. And it should, so since this is the first move, we don't have to break any highs or anything. We're above the 200 here. From the 200 daily, that's that 264, so it was somewhere around there. I think I did move it. And preferably you want, on the 5 minute, you want at least 250 plus volume, preferably over 1 million. And here it has, this first candle has 2.7 million, and this next one has 3.8 million. And that I get that from the volume candles down here. And this is this standard chart you can find on TraderView. And the next one I look at, does any of we call this the momentum pattern, do any of the candles have a large wick that's larger than 50% of the body? So that would be something, this is close to that. Let me see if I can find one that, this one's close. This one's definitely, this wick, even though it's red, let's say this was green, this was definitely above 50%. So that's a sign, it's a bearish signal. So like right here, this would be a bearish signal right here. So that would invalidate this, could possibly invalidate this trade. So all these are subjective, but here we're bouncing out the VWAP, so that could give you the conviction to take the trade. Oh, let's see, next one here. All right, so now next we examine the pullback. So the pullback are these parts here. So we have momentum pattern, another momentum pattern, and then another momentum pattern right here. And then these, let me just clear all these drawings here. And then these are the pullbacks. So that's what we're going to be doing next. What's going on in the pullback? There's another one. So in the pullbacks, the pullbacks volume should be lower, and this is probably this is probably a rule that you can't. It's not subjective; it's just objective. So you probably have. I would follow. Is that the volume for the pullback pattern needs to be lower than the momentum pattern, which means, sellers aren't stepping in. They're maybe there's just profit taking going on right here. There's no short sellers coming in and trying to drive the price down lower. We're just taking profits here. We're taking a breath. So here, that volume for this setup is right here. And obviously this is lower than these two. So we're good there. And then it would be the next, it would be the first candle to make a new high. Okay, well, let's go back to examine the pullback. The pullback should not retrace more than 50% of the momentum pattern. So here I'll just take, you can do this, you can eyeball this, but you can just take a fib to confirm right there. So as you can see, the 50% is right here, and I know it's small, is right here where my crosshairs are. It can wick down past that, but it shouldn't close past 50% of the momentum move. And that's a sign that, we may not reverse, or it's retraced too much, and it's going to detract buyers from coming in to continue the continuation of the pattern. The next one is so the first thing we do, we start marking the highs and lows of these pullback candles. So we mark a high right there, and this is really good right here when it bounces off VWAP like that. And then the pullback should not be more than 4 to 5 candles. So after 5 candles of a pullback, normally we're probably already past 50% of the momentum move. So meaning that if we were to pull back like 6 candles, rather than just 2 here, 2 here, 3 here, 4 here, 3 or 4 here, 3 here, then most of the time we're probably below the 50%, or retrace below 50% of the momentum pattern. So after 5 candles, I would be very, it was just a warning, very cautious about getting to that trade, because it may have retraced too much, or why aren't the buyers stepping in? Are we waiting? Are we close to like a support line where the buyers are just waiting to get to that support line, or is the move over and we're on the backside of the move? All right, so next one is keep note of the pullback if it bounces off a known support. So here we bounced off VWAP 1, 2, 3, 4 times here, which is probably why we have such a big move right here. So you have to take, it's like a puzzle. Every trade is a puzzle. You got to figure out, okay, what's working for this trade, what's not working for this trade. Is there enough evidence for this trade that's working in my favor to hop into this thing? None of these things are concrete, except for maybe the trigger. Not even the trigger sometimes. So this is just guidelines. So also too, during the pullback, you want to examine the 1 minute chart, and is there any obvious support and resistance? Is it popping down, which means is there large sellers on the level 2? Is there any evidence there that this is going bearish? And I can show you an example of that, which is right here. Like here at the beginning of this candle, we had this pattern, like 3 candle pattern on the 1 minute. It was this small red candle, a little bit larger candle, and then a big drop. So that's like the three candle drop. It's called something, I can't remember what it's called, but that would be definitely a bearish signal, which is why you wouldn't take this trade right here for a break of a high of a higher candle. Break of the high of the previous candle, I should say. And then next, so if we are close to the VWAP like we were right here, you can wait till the pullback after the touch to get in. So here we can, it touched right here, so this trade would have been good because it did draw down, but after that drawdown it did go much higher, and then this it touched here. It almost touched, so you could have got in right here. You would have got stopped out if your stop loss was at the bottom of the pullback pattern. However, it was right near VWAP. So you have, everybody has VWAP on their charts. Everybody. Or some combination of, like with offset or trading channels, something is going off the volume weight average price. So this is a very obvious signal, is the bounce off VWAP. So you can wait till it bounces and then take the next high, take the next candle that makes a new high. And you could have taken this trade right here, even though this is a terrible setup. You could have taken this trade because this candle touch VWAP, break a new high, and we would have got 86 to 30 cents. So all right, so next one. All right, so the trigger candle. So the trigger candle is the candle that makes a new high off of the last pullback. So it would be here. We would have got in right here at 289. We would have drawn down back to 274-ish, but then jumped. We could have made 20-30 cents off this, and that's kind of the goal. If we kind of want a 1-to-1, at least a 1-to-1 profit to loss ratio, because I do believe your success rate for this is above 60%, maybe even 70%. So here we have 5 different entries on this run right here for a 5 minute. And when I first started this, I was like, man, we'll have to wait till the 5 minute, because like I said, I've been trading the 10 second. I'm like, man, I'm only gonna get like 1 or 2 trades a day, if that, maybe 2 trades a week for this setup. And this thing sets up all the time on the 5 minute. I mean, you can maybe even go down to a 15-minute chart and do something like that. I don't know. I haven't even looked at something like that. But here, the trigger right here on this first, let me get rid of all the drawings here. So on this first setup, the trigger was at 289. So you can hover over that candle and see what the high is, but I got this thing in the way. Let's see here, the high was 289. And then the next one, let's get rid of this here. So this pullback, a little bit over, 292. And then this last one, like I said, if you would have got into, so it did break on this candle right here. So this candle right here did break the previous high. So you would have got stopped out at the near the VWAP or close to it. And that's why price likes retesting the VWAP, because a lot of buyers come into that, a lot of short sellers trade or fade to that line, and if we're underneath, it's the exact opposite. So buyers buy up to the VWAP and sell at the VWAP. So it's an inflection, definitely an inflection point. But if we took the bounce off VWAP entry, it would have been right there. And then we had another one up here. And I'll get into more of this. This one's a little bit tighter, I guess you'd say. And then the last one would have been right here. And then this pullback just pulled back way too much, so it invalidates this one. And then we're on the back side of the move, so it invalidates this one. So really we have to wait until the break of the high a day at almost $5 to consider these setups again. All right, so once you're in the trade, the expectation is for a surge of volume in the price, and the surge of volume and price once the entry is confirmed. So once you enter, we did have this surge of volume here on this, but know that that a lot of people are probably taking these types of trades, so they're scalping it. So you get that 10, 15, 20 cents, and then you kind of see a kind of a quick sell off, and then it comes back and retests that area for the rest of the buyers to get in and say, okay, we did have a break of this level, let's retest it, and then go back up again. But I would say if the price, and of course you're monitoring the level 2, which is all this data, the time and sale. If you don't see a lot of printing, a lot of volume coming in on that candle, and you can really discern it by what's going on here. So you would see a lot of print here. You wouldn't be able to even read anything. That's how fast volume's coming in. So if it's not doing that at these apex points, or then I would just be concerned and say, if we really haven't seen this surge of volume or surge in price in 2 to 3 minutes, maybe it's time to cut the trade and look for a better entry, because there is no FOMO in momentum, no FOMO in Momo, because as you can see, there's always a trade somewhere. And then once you're in the trade, you're just monitoring the 1 minute and level 2 for exits. I mean, that could be, what you gotta wait till the chart tells you to get out, or if you're trading by profit loss, look at your stop loss and you try to say, okay, I'm gonna try to get 20 cents on this trade, and then take half and then leave the other half for another 20 cents or stop. So once you take that initial part off, don't lose money on the trade. So I'm kind of playing around with the idea of, this one basically got walked down the rest of the morning, but it had this surge afternoon. Once we go below VWAP and surge back up above VWAP, can we start the process over again with just the high a day as resistance? So you could, possibly, these aren't really good setups, but you could possibly have a setup right here. You could possibly have a setup right here, another one right here, another one forming right now. So those are the type of things that, I would look at or be considering moving forward. And then the other thing to consider would be, when you're examining the pullback, maybe looking for a compression on the 1 minute. Meaning that, you start out with a big pullback candle, and then it eventually gets smaller and smaller, and that's compression. And then eventually it just pops out, almost like a spring loading up. Maybe looking more for that kind of pattern. But for now, I'm just going off the 5 minute. Just make sure nothing crazy is on the 1 minute chart for while I'm examining the pullback. But looking for that compression, because this would be considered a compress. This is probably compressing on the 1 minute. Yeah. But I'm just gonna go through the top 5 stocks on the scanner, and kind of look and see, what could we have got into here. So QNRX had a huge move this morning. So I did actually take this trade right here. And like I said, it was only for a few shares. So QNRX, I did take this trade at 14.0. At the price was 14.07 at 9.49. So here we have the momentum pattern. It's on the scanner. We have the momentum pattern. We have the pullback. And then we have the break of the high. Volume lower than this volume here. and look, it halted. It went from 13, 14 bucks all the way to $41. But man, whoever was holding up here just got wrecked, because these are halts. These are halts up. So each time this thing halted, we probably only had about 3 or 4 seconds to get in and get out, and it's the same on the way down. So if you were hitting that, don't hit the ask on the way down. I'll be spamming that bid, and don't let the, because I got in that situation where I had to ask open, and sorry, it was open trade, and I couldn't get out of the trade because I had an open order, so I had to cancel the order and then try to get out. And you know, in this game, you can't have those mistakes. So it went from green to red. So okay, so that's that one. Let's see here, SGBX. That was one of the gainers this morning. Oh my gosh. All right, so yeah. So momentum pattern, pullback, entry right there. There's your profit there. Once again, momentum pattern. However, this pulled back pretty far, so this would probably invalidate for me at this point this trade. However, you know, we were bouncing up this VWAP, but you know, take a look at the 1 minute chart. It was definitely compressing here. So really, you could make an argument. You could have an entry up here. You can have an entry right there. So this doesn't follow the exact rules or guidelines. However, like I said, it's just subjective. So if you feel good, you know, and it meets 90% of the rules, I don't know, but you can't be doing that with everything. But as you can see, you know, once you get to this point, you're obviously on the backside of the move. I mean, there's no buyers except for people scalping or hoping or whatever. I mean, this thing gets walked all the way back down to below VWAP. You get this surge right here, pop over VWAP, and then that's it. All right, next one. Let's see here. All right, so I think this is one that would not work. So we have the momentum pattern, pullback right here. So the beauty of it is, if it doesn't work, there's always probably another opportunity to get in, unless you feel like we're on the back side of this, like this continued downwards. However, you know, you have buyers coming in. So, you know, you could have got right there, and I don't know. So this one probably would have been a tough one to trade, and would have not worked either 1, 2, maybe every time. But you know, this one was a good one for a move higher for 30 cents, you know. So all right, like I said, I'm just picking these at random. Let's see what else is in here. PMW. All right, so I don't like this first candle here. That would have been a tough one to trade on. So as you see, this candle right here, even though it pulled back, we have this huge wick up. So your entry wouldn't be until up here, and plus look at the volume. Look at the volume on these pullbacks, and so you maybe could have taken an entry right here, kind of off of VWAP. That's a good candle. for 20 cents, 20, 30 cents right there. So there were some opportunities here. I think you're two below VWAP, and plus, you know, this retraced all the way to open. So I wouldn't have even looked at this until over here, and I don't think it really broke the high of day. I don't know. All right, so that's that one. Let's do one more. Let's see here. Trying to find one that I was looking at earlier. Pop. All right. So this is one that had, I think this was a continuation trade. So this wasn't even on scanners because we had this big move yesterday, and the news came out yesterday. So there's an entry right there. Entry right there. Entry right here. So we got momentum, pull back, push. So this is kind of where it would have not worked anymore. I'm not sure what was going on in the 1 minute. If you would have immediately got stopped out, or you would have got this move and had an opportunity to make profit off of it. But the ones you want to avoid is the ones where you get in, it stalls, and then it just goes down. Like those are the ones you would want to cut bait on. But if it's ranging, you know, you might go in the red a little bit. You know, taking 15, 20 cents for half, and then break even on the rest. There's no harm in that, or close to. And then on this move, so I'm just quickly looking at it. So I just break. So that's pre-market high, daily high. So we broke right here. The retracement. See, the stock is way overpriced. Not overpriced, but it's a little too high for my taste, because, you know, a small trade could be 1 or 2 points here. So I would be trading very small. So, you know, this move right here was 60 cents, but look how fast it went down to VWAP, bounced off VWAP, and then, so, you know, these bounces off VWAP after break of high are good trades too. So, but that's that. I'll be going over these examples at least once a week and trying to refine this setup, but I really do like a little bit slower paced. Not trading 10-second chart is crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. It's just information overload. This information is a lot easier to discern, and hopefully it works out.